Hello, CH is True here. It's been a long time, many months, and frankly, I intended to kill off this channel right after the Science and Religion series, but thanks to a lot of renewed subscribers and a lot of new people with an interest in my Science and Religion series, the channel has now been resurrected. No religious pun intended. Previously on the channel, we discussed issues around religion, science, set theory, monotheism, pantheism, hylozoism, animism, all the isms, you name it. I believe that, and the conclusion that I arrived at with that whole train of thought is that the best solution to, let's say, Cantor's paradox, or let's say the Anselm's argument, would be some form of, not strict pantheism, but some form of, some degree in which pantheism would be melded into any number of philosophies. In particular, I have a strong feeling that Cantor's paradox could be resolved by a non-dual view of reality, in which the ultimate set would not have any members of itself, strictly speaking, because there would be no separation within it. That's something that has occurred to me for some time. I don't think it necessarily lends itself to pantheism, but it lends itself to some kind of a blend, maybe, of pantheism with any number of philosophies. For naturalists or Epicureans, they might embrace some aspects of it. For metaphysicians, they might embrace other aspects of it. But that's kind of the old CH is True channel. I believe that if I'm going to resurrect this channel, I need to make use of the time that we have for free speech still remaining with us. I might indeed do more in the way of math or philosophy. I might redo some of my geometry proofs, make them better. I might revisit the continuum hypothesis, or maybe not. Probably more likely not. But what I want to do now is make use of the time that we have together to really talk about what's important right now for our lives in a very deep, meaningful sense. What use is there to have philosophy, mathematics, science, or art or anything like that, if we lose the ability to be human? What does it gain us to sound like intellectuals or pseudo-intellectuals or meta-intellectuals or unter-intellectuals or uber-intellectuals or whatever we sound like, if we don't take important stands on the issues of the day, the deeper issues of the day, the issues that the media won't discuss, the issues that the so-called experts won't discuss, the issues that the intellectuals themselves avoid. I want to talk about being human in the age of Snowden. I want to talk about being human in the age of the panopticon. And in particular, I'm going to bring this channel into directions that some of the old subscribers may feel uncomfortable. I'm going to venture into a lot of discussions of abuse of power, governmental conspiracies, you might call them, although it's a term that has a very loaded feel to it for a lot of people. But I don't know what else to call them. I mean, if they're not conspiracies, if they're not corporate governmental conspiracies, then I don't know what they are. I don't know that the term has any meaning. If you deny that there are corporate governmental conspiracies, then you deny the meaning of the term conspiracy. Maybe it's not a good term. Maybe it's a very bad term, but something is definitely rotten in Denmark, and yet even that is not the focus of this particular video. The focus of this particular video is how we remain human in the day and age when our humanity itself is being usurped by a technocratic society. Let's start at the very, very beginning, shall we? Let's go back. Let's go back to the hunter-gatherer age, where there was no question but that we were enmeshed in not only a very small, intimate societies that were far more democratic than anything that emerged during the agricultural period, but we were also enmeshed in what you might call a world of magic, a world of in which we were enmeshed in a network of natural cycles that was experienced very much through storytelling. It was experienced through art. It was experienced through imagination. And it was also experienced through a strong sense of individuality, that the different members of the community knew and understood themselves as individual. With the emergence of agricultural society, we began to lose that. People's roles in society began to be defined by external actors. Your role was defined by the priest or by the king or by who your father was. Sometimes maybe who your mother was, more often than not, probably who your father was. Eventually, with the emergence of industrial society and capitalism, we began to be defined as workers, owners, and we had that division. Then eventually, though, with post-industrial capitalism, we began to be defined as consumers. Now, at this point, the consumer stage of capitalism is now passing. And we are passing, whether we realize it or not, whether we want to realize it or not, we're passing into a new stage here. And that new stage here is we're entering the age of the panopticon. Yes, it's consumer capitalism. I don't deny that it is consumer capitalism. But generally, in the age of consumer capitalism, there was a strong emphasis on the customer and the customer's wants and the customer's desires. And of course, the purpose of commercials was to manufacture the customer's wants and the customer's desires as much as possible. But in this age, it's something a little bit more insidious. This is an age of coercive consumer capitalism. You are being forced to buy things. You are being forced to adjust to an economy in which you must purchase these things. You must have a computer. You must have the latest app, or you must have Google Glasses, whatever it might be. I could care less. But the point is, these are things you must have in order to survive. You must have in order to have any kind of social standing. Yes, that was true in previous forms of capitalism also, but it's becoming ever more true that it's less and less about what people want and more about what people must do in order to survive. And of course, we're in the embryonic stages of that, so we have not yet seen the full culmination of that. But we're now also going to see ever expanding arenas of state power through the internet. I think I said that right. It's been a few months, so you'll have to forgive me. Ever expanding arenas of state power. Well, look at Edward Snowden, okay? In other words, Edward Snowden, a hero, a true American hero, a defender of the Bill of Rights, a defender of the Fourth Amendment, being called by the media and by the politicians a traitor. He's a traitor, he's a traitor. Well, if he's a traitor, then who's the enemy? I mean, the Islamic terrorists all know that they're being monitored. I should hope they're being monitored. I should hope so, right? So what's the big surprise here? Who's the enemy? There are a lot of questions around this, but maybe we can get to some other time in some other video, because it's not the point here. The point here is that in the age of Snowden, humanity is now redefined. We are not citizens, we are subjects to be monitored. We are not human beings, we are resources, as in human resources, the human resource division of a corporation, right? Or a hiring agency. We are not people with wants or desires. We are people who must have certain wants or desires. In the age of Snowden, the true enemy does not appear to be political at this point. You might think, oh, well, it's not really about terrorists, it's about political dissidents, it's about us. I think that, that could be true, and I'm not denying that, but I think that there's a bigger point here. Metadata is about following trends within the population to control those trends. So it's neither what the supporters nor the detractors of this program allege. Metadata is about knowing the trends to control the trends. It is about substituting humanity with a mathematical algorithm. You know that I love math. We better head to part 2. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to sign off now and go to part 2 of this series. So please stay